How you doing, everybody? My name is Michael Zapsik. I'm from AMC's Comic Book Man, and you're listening to iWalter.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Okay, hey, this is Walter from iWalter, and let me just check my levels, make sure they're okay. Yeah, they look pretty good. Just moving my mic as I start my show on Sunday, the 21st at 10 o'clock almost. Yeah, I apologize. I wasn't on the last couple of days. It was actually yesterday I got tied up on setting up my I was setting up my PlayStation 4. I was trying to do some upgrades. I actually finally found the parts I want to replace on the machine. Right now, I'm getting pretty heated up. I think she's like really attractive. Is this girl? Her name is Gianova Rossi or something. She's really cute. Her hair, I just call it myself, is a little strange looking. You know, it's kind of got that feel of almost the 70s look a little bit. And then sometimes her hair looks like really good. I think it's just been processed too much. It's a shame because she's not a bad looking woman. Anyway, she always does these kind of sexy pictures once in a while, and sometimes she hits it like right on the head, and this time I think she did. She's not bad looking at all. She's very friendly too. That's kind of what catches my attention every time I see her. Anyway, I spent the last couple hours, I was trying to fix my mistakes that I've done on, I was trying to fix that one show I did with Mark when I did the Comic Book Men reviews. And had been working on it for quite a few hours, and I just finally figured out, you know what, the only way I'm going to be able to do anything with that at this point is probably the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I can do another interview with him. If I ever get the chance, I would love to, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen. So I didn't prepare anything, just to let you know. That's a good thing because usually that's what my shows generally do a little bit better. But, hey, just to give you a heads up, maybe somebody can actually help me with this too. I even went to Sony's website for the PlayStation 4, and I asked them specifically, can you guys kind of answer this question I have? Like, yesterday I went to Micro Center. I didn't even know. I was actually not planning on doing this, but I looked on the web link for Micro Center and a couple other places. I've been going back and forth because the PlayStation 4 comes basically with a 500 gig hard drive, which years ago, hey, that would have been more than enough because generally all you did with video games is you just only put on just enough to, you played the game basically off the hard disk. I mean, off the CD-ROM or DVD-ROM, whatever it was. I think more it's a Blu-ray ROM now. That's how big the files have gotten. But that's generally what you did. You didn't need that much room. You didn't need that much because you're playing basically right off the Blu. Back then you played off the CD or DVD ROM. Now that's not the case. Now you're actually playing these games. They have to be completely loaded onto your hard drive. That's why the hard drives got so much bigger than they were in the past for these consoles. So basically, what you're playing it off of is a watered down, so to speak, a watered down computer, and that's cool, but it just kind of makes a little bit like it doesn't have the horsepower you're going to get when you play games on a PC. It's not going to. It's not. It's a lot better though. It's much better, but it's still not the same as playing on the PC. But it's a lot cheaper because they have to make all these games pretty much. They have. I call it myself. They have to make them that they play on these consoles because the consoles aren't. You can't upgrade them like you can like a PC. Like they make the games for the PC where there's no boundaries. They basically, I just said it again. They make you force you to upgrade your computer if you want to play a game decently. You're going to have to upgrade your computer at least every 6 months. If you're lucky, you might be able to play a couple games about every year. But, you can play more. You can play a lot of games within the year mark. But honestly, it doesn't seem to... it doesn't benefit you because it's really expensive. Because honestly, I just said that too. Your GPU cards, your graphics cards, are really expensive. They're like anywhere between $500 to $1,500, and then you're lucky if you get like maybe 1 or 2 games that you can actually play properly. Now that's the great thing about a console because they're kind of forced. They may not look as great. They may not look as spectacular. Now, I've been fortunate because the nice thing is they really don't make that many graphics cards for Macs. So I've had the same graphics card for the last couple years. And I paid almost, I can't remember. I'm going to say I probably paid close to $500 when I bought the card. But it's still working really well. And at this point, it's great because I'm not like stuck in that situation that I had. It's an NVIDIA card too. I got to look what it is. But yeah, I remember having the PC. It was like, yeah, you're lucky. And I always got the step below because it got so expensive. Yeah, I have an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 770 2GB graphics card. And I've had that for a couple of years now. And it still holds up because a lot of people... they do make a lot more games for your Mac, just as many, they're convert them for the Mac from the PC. But at the same time, you're not forced to upgrade as much. You can still play games at decent quality on the Mac. But the consoles, a lot of these games anymore, they used to not do this. This happened years ago at this point. But what you were able to do, like you bought a game for a PC, they were kind of ported pretty poorly to the console. Actually, they weren't even made for consoles. Consoles weren't that big. Consoles had their own set of games. Then they got to this point where, okay, any game that comes out is going to come out directly. It made it easier for the game developers to just basically make the game for the console, and then later on they would port it to the PC. And the only problem with that is the games don't look as good. They kind of look shitty, and they're made to play on a joystick. Honestly, I've never been a big fan. I don't like playing video games on joysticks. I really find it difficult. I prefer to be able to play my games on a keyboard because it just makes it so much simpler. You have so much more maneuverability. Like, if you're playing, like, for instance, the games I like were Doom and Quake. They're all id Software programs, games. And it would just, honestly, it just made it so much easier. I enjoyed, honestly, I just had no issues on playing it on the keyboard. It is really difficult to play. I still can't get the grasp of it, unless it's a fighting game. Then... that I don't have a problem with. I can play it every time. So anyway, honestly, I'm just pretty much only using my PlayStation the same way I used my Xbox, because the Xbox, I accidentally broke it. I spilled some water on my entertainment stand, and it just went right towards, even though it was covered, the direction that it decided to go was right on the console, and it stopped working. It was like, oh, good, because I think I had water damage anyway on the Xbox One, and that wasn't a cheap unit. That thing was like I would say $400 or $500. So I was not a happy camper when that broke. So thank goodness I had coverage. I got a new unit for free, which if I didn't have that, I would have been out pretty much $500. So I was glad about that. So, and I've been really happy. I've always been a fan of Sony more so than, other units, other, I'm trying to think of the right word. It'll come to me. Other devices you can use for stereo systems, entertainment equipment, TVs, computers. Not computers. Actually, computers are like Apple. So that wasn't the right word to use. I'm trying to think. Well, camera equipment mainly, and other stuff. I mean, when I was in school, that's what we used to always use. We used a lot of Sony products, and I kind of got stuck with it. I'll go back, but I get the best equipment I've had in the past and still do is actually. Wait, my thing locked out. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Okay, here we go. Yeah, is basically just using the Sony stuff. So I try to stick with, I know I just said that. Somebody just asked for a request. I'm always leery on taking people's requests. Well, this guy seems like he is legit, so I'll definitely add him. Yeah, I just confirmed him now. Max Vitelli. I won't add anybody that looks suspicious, I'll tell you that much. And he obviously looks like a true guy, so yeah, I just said it. I admit to it. So anyway, yeah, I end up just wasting. That's my excuse for yesterday. I just wasted a whole freaking day trying to get everything working on my computer, on my PlayStation. Well, my question is, I've really never. I haven't got to the point yet. What I wanted to ask people is, I looked on Micro Center. Probably every state has one. It's equivalent to what CompUSA used to be. They used to be their competitor, Micro Center. They had 1 terabyte hard drives. You need to use a laptop hard drive. It's really simple. You don't even need to know anything about computers in order to do it. But you can upgrade your hard drive from the 500 gig terabyte or 500 gig hard drive to 1 terabyte in your Mac. And it's not difficult at all. Anybody can do it. You don't need any knowledge. If you know how to use a screwdriver, you're 99.9% there on setting up your unit. So it was like, okay, hey, this is cool. But it was like $50. But that's what I wanted to say. It was like $50, $49.99. It was like, wow, I can get a 1 terabyte hard drive for $50. I'm definitely going to go for that. And it's cheaper than buying the 1 terabyte machines that you would buy if you get a PlayStation 4 with a 1 terabyte hard drive. So obviously, once again, I was there and I wasn't sure. And see, the thing is with hard drives, there's different types. There is your solid state drives, which kind of are a waste of what I read on a PS4, because the unit is designed, it's a console, no matter how you look at it, even though it's technically a computer system of some sort. Everything pretty much still runs besides off the hard drive. The actual game is stored on the hard drive. To actually physically play the game, you're actually running it through whatever RAM is on the system. The way, I forget what else. There's certain components, but the hard drive is the last thing it's going to actually hit on. So that being said, they were saying, yeah, you can buy an SSD drive. That's the solid state drive. I forgot what it was at first. Or you can basically get, I'm trying to think, hybrid drive. I know I caught myself. And they said the hybrid drives are actually much cheaper. They're like a lot cheaper. And once you load it, like your loading time at first is going to be not that great. It's going to be about the same as you get off a regular standard hard drive. But once everything is loaded that it needs on a game, that you're playing on the console, the SSD drive is actually faster and works much better, and it's a lot cheaper. It's like a 1/4 of the price is your hybrid drive, and you're going to get a better performance than you will out of a SSD drive. And between the SSD drive, because I did a lot of reading and stuff, but I still wasn't satisfied with the answers I got. Your SSD drive, your 7200 RPM hard drive is the other one, or what I end up buying, a 5400 hard drive, or you got the other choice of the hybrid. So there's a hybrid, the SSD, your 7200 spindle speed hard drive at 7200 RPMs per minute, I guess, or per second is the way it spins. That gets pretty toasty. And then you got the one that is 5400. So originally they said, well, I know, I said it. The PlayStation put the 5400 RPM in their system for the 500 gig. And they said the reason they did that was because it's cheaper. The difference, though, right now between they use the PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation 4 use the same type of hard drives. They use laptop hard drives. They're no different. They made it so you can actually upgrade either your PlayStation 3 or your PlayStation 4 used the exact same type of hard drive. And like I said, it's a laptop one. So that is nice. I really definitely like that. And laptop hard drives, the difference in price, the cost, is, I think if I remember correctly, was no more than, I think, like $10. So that's why it also made me scratch my head even more. Okay, it's like, okay, there's only a $10 difference if I decide to buy a 5400 RPM laptop hard drive for my PS4 or the 7200. Now, you're talking a large difference in speed. Now, on a laptop, on a Mac laptop, or, anything on that line, the difference between the 7200 and the 5400 is a large difference for PCs and Macs and stuff like that. On what I've read, and even the SSD drive, because you don't have any loading time for any stuff. You boot up in like less than 7 seconds, 10 seconds for basically just, starting the OS and starting your programs. Now, the difference between SSD and a hybrid is SSD is going to always basically have no loading time on a computer or a Mac. Now, on the differences now between the SSD, because I didn't go far enough, I think. Your SSD has no loading time. Your hybrid is going to have a little bit of a delay on. It's not going to have any loading time problems, but it's not a full solid state drive, so it's got a limit to what it will put in what's considered basically an extended cache. Like your cache is basically, as the way I look at it, is the same thing as your RAM. Now, RAM on a computer and on your console is anything you're using that's put in RAM, it's going to access the quickest. That's I look at it. I said this years ago. Shows ago. RAM is like your random access memory. It is your random access memory. It's like your short-term memory, and it's there. It's easy to access if you don't use it, but before you shut it down, or you use it again before you shut it down, it's really quick. Your hard drive is usually always your slowest part, which in a solid-state drive, that's not an issue. So that's what makes a solid-state drive so much better, because it's a lot quicker. Now, that's on a PC or a Mac. Now, I found out, though, on the console, you're really not making that much of a difference for some reason, because everything is, your loading time might be a little faster if you have an SSD drive or a hybrid drive. Your 7200 might be a little faster, but once it gets down to doing what the console's designed to do, which is play games, then what I've read is there is no difference in very little, if that. You're talking 3%, or not even like 3 seconds, give or take on the game. If you get a game that it has to load certain maps, generally that says it loads all the maps in the beginning of the game, and once that's through, it's not going to make a hell of a difference at all. You're talking less than a millionth of a second. So in that case, it's like, I don't worry, because running the 5400 on the PS4 is actually going to run much cooler. So that alone is going to make me happy, because I'm not making a lot of heat. Because the thing is, basically, it's plastic. So by running it hotter is not going to do me any favor or the console any favor, because you're basically going to end up. No, it would take a lot more heat than it generates, but it can be a possibility that you could generate enough heat that you could probably even cause a little bit of a discoloration, or probably even soften of the plastic on top of the chassis, because the amount of space between the top of your console and that hard drive that's all metal, minus the platters, well, they're metal too, is really no space at all. There is actually not much space. There's not much room, and airflow is very important, because the consoles are designed to be very, I know I call myself, are designed to be very limited in size, because people don't like big consoles, and that's the problem a lot of people, including myself, had with the Xbox One. It was just too chunky. It had an external hard drive. Yeah, wish. Well, you can put one on there, though. But an external power supply that was so massively big, it was just a little ridiculous. And somebody kind of made the excuse up. Some guy said, oh, well, the reason that the power supply was so big on the Xbox One was because it was actually a surge protector. And I told some girl at the GameStop when the guy told me, I said, you know what, no offense, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. That is actually their power supply. It was not a surge protector built into the power supply. You look at the PlayStation 4, there is no big clunky power supply thing that looks like a big freaking brick. And they said, well, they did something wrong, because that actually was a surge protector as well. It's like, no, that is actually the power supply, because they couldn't fit it in the unit. The unit was already bulky enough, and Xbox tried to cut back a little bit. One of the mistakes I heard they did is they put an oversized on the Xbox One, because I'm jumping back and forth. I even lost my own train of thought. Was they put an oversized fan on the unit, and they claimed like that. I didn't hear. I read that in an article. They actually said they put an extra large fan, because they just don't want the damn thing to overheat. And clock speed wise, performance wise, believe it or not, they say that the PlayStation 4 runs much quicker in responding, on loading games, and the way it plays the same exact games, even though the units are pretty much spec-wise are the same, and it was running slower RAM actually on the Xbox One. So they probably did that because why do you run slower RAM to begin with? Well, it's because it's cheaper. Why did you put a slower hard drive in? Because it's cheaper. So all that said and everything, because I now went off on this wild nonsense, informative of nothing information. Yeah, there I go again. That was one thing I liked about having my PlayStation 4. I had one before, and then I changed to the Xbox One. I went back to PS4. And the only reason I didn't like the PS4 when I initially had it was it did not play. I basically use these units as media centers to play movies and rent movies, watch TV shows, things like that. And I play a couple games. I'm like a casual gamer. I'm not like a heavy hardcore gamer. And the next game I actually want to play, the only game I'm interested in playing, because I own a bunch of games, so I'm not really playing them, honestly, is going to be Doom, the new Doom game. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I don't play games like religiously. I don't need to play them constantly because I'll get sleep if I don't play a game. So I know I just want all 360 in who knows where direction. So bottom line is I can't even think. So having the PlayStation 4, I wanted to when I get this new game, the Doom game, I'm gonna have to load the whole freaking game on the unit. I only had because I downloaded a lot of software programs, just like movies and TV shows, that I was down to like 200 and some change in gigabytes, and it was like, okay, if I have to load this whole game, and somebody's not that I don't have enough room. But when you start saving the games and stuff, if you start using up more room, these games now, they used to be, even a full game back in the day, was no more, believe it or not, was no more than probably, I'm trying to think, if you're lucky, I would say like 15 gigs or something, 12 gigs for a whole game. And they were decent. Now games are more so, they're a lot bigger. The new games now are start at like 30 gigs just for one game. Some of them are actually 50 gigs just for a game. And you got to load the whole entire thing on the hard drive. And it won't maybe play off the hard drive, but it has to be stored on your hard drive, and it just basically loads whatever you need to play. So that's cool, but it's just your hard drive space is getting used up really quick. So it's like, okay. And I've read that they really should not have put a 500 gig hard drive. They actually went back to that. PlayStation did. Sony. For a while there, they were making 1 terabyte hard drive systems. It was like, yeah, that was more sense. And they knew that they made a mistake. They just didn't want to add the cost to the customer. They want to keep the price down. That's why they made the unit so easy just to tear apart, and then you can basically add a larger hard drive. They said the going size hard drive right now that you probably need is like 2 terabytes is the minimum, and I got a 1 terabyte. I didn't want to go with a 2 terabyte just because I figured it'd be a little bit more complicated to set up. I didn't want to take that chance. So that being said, I figured I'll stay with the 1 terabyte because they did make officially 1 terabyte unit. So it's like, okay, I'll stick with that. So I looked around. I know I just went like 20 minutes in nowhere's land. In fact, let me just check right now. You can go to the Micro Center's website, which I am going to do right now. Excuse me. You look for laptop hard drives or HDDs, because that means basically hard drive. And you just put it, but on Micro Center's website, you have to put in laptop hard drive. You can even put in PlayStation 4 hard drive and it'll take in the right direction. Alrighty. And then you just put in 1 TB for terabyte. Oh, I messed up. Because I was just trying to look for prices. 1 terabyte, $7,200, $54 internal. That's a desktop, though. So, 1 laptop, 1 terabyte. Wait, let me see. Laptop, 1 terabyte laptop. Hard drive. Excuse me, my throat is so dry, and it's not working. Generally, I have no problem. Oh, you know what? Better yet, what you really are looking for is 2.5. That's the size. Literally 2.5. 1 TB hard drive. That should work. 2.5 is basically a laptop hard drive. No, that's not even working now. Huh. 1 terabyte laptop. Nope. I don't know what's going on. I'll try, because I want to make sure I tell people right. Internal laptop hard drive. Alrighty, that does work. So you have to actually put in, if you go to Micro Center's website, you just put in internal laptop hard drive, and I'm looking at the prices. You got a 5400. 1 terabyte is $70. Some of the sales have actually ended now. I know, I just said that. You can get a 7200 RPM for $64 on Travel Star, which is HGST. HGST used to be Hitachi. Now have been bought out, though, by Western Digital. And somebody told me, well, HGST is the top-end brand. I lost my voice for a minute. The top-notch brand if you want to buy a really good hard drive for, I just bumped my mic too, I know. For your PlayStation 4, your laptop, your whatever, laptop hard drive. For some reason, that is their top-notch brand now. But they used to be Hitachi. Hitachi really kind of screwed up the hard drives they made from this brand they used to call HGST. Western Digital had taken it over, and that's like their top brand now. So if you can save a couple bucks by buying this because they're not that expensive. Now, apparently, years ago, Seagate was the top brand. They were like the ones you wanted to buy. I keep on bumping my mic. Now they are not that great. Now, here is one. I think even the one I bought, they put back out as an open box. But it was a Western Digital Blue. That was the one I originally had. And that's only $50. There's the open box one, which was probably the one I returned for $40. So I thought the one I had, though, was 7,200 RPMs, but apparently not. So they put mine out as an open box for $40. So you can buy a 1 terabyte 5400 Western Digital Blue, which is the same company that owns now HGST, and it's $40. So again, it was probably the one I returned because I thought it was broken, but it was actually me not knowing how to install or put the software in properly for my PS4. There's another 1 terabyte hard drive by Seagate. It is a 5400, but it is both. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's basically a hybrid drive. That's almost $95. The guy did steer me right now that I look at it. He's right. You don't want to buy that. It's way overpriced. It's not worth the money. So I'm trying to look for the terabytes that were 7,200 RPMs. Now, they have a Seagate Momentous, and Seagate, I think, got bought out, or they bought some other company. So a lot of these companies bought other companies. But Seagate has actually taken a dive. They used to be like the best you could buy. I know for a fact, though, that HGST Travel Stars are now owned by Western Digital. And Western Digital used to be like the really good home brand to buy. They're the ones you wanted to get. I can't remember, but I remember I thought I heard that again that Seagate bought some other company or somebody else bought them because there was another company, I don't see it anymore, listed that I used to always like their hard drives years ago until they became not so popular, obviously, because they're not around. But if you're looking at terabyte hard drives, because for a laptop or a console, honestly, a terabyte is not a bad choice. Toshiba's got a 1 terabyte for $55, and the reviews on those weren't too bad. They weren't too shabby. So there's, and most of these that are left are only, they did sell a lot at are 7,200 RPMs. Again, from what I heard, you're really not going to get much of a performance boost on the console. You will on anything else. So I'm just taking a last look to see if I left anything out I wanted to talk about on these terabyte hard drives. But most of them are 5400. From what I understand, you probably want to stick around the 5400 and not gaining that much performance, give or take what review you read. Most of them from people that are just basic geeks, they said when they basically, I'm trying to think of the right word, when they basically put the PS4 into a PS4, they said you're not going to get much of a difference. I think there's like less than probably 2% said, oh yeah, there is a big difference in a solid state or something that's 7200. And there was a couple reviews that said, oh yeah, you want the 7200. The difference is about $10 either way. I'm just always concerned about not only performance but heat being the issue too. So anyway, yes, okay, I successfully milked that story. So here I am. I spend all day. I actually made 2 trips. I felt like such a dumbass. I made 2 trips over to Micro Center. It's like a good 30, 40 minutes from the house. I used to go to Cabrini College, so it's not that much further, but still, it's just like, that's 30 minutes I don't want to go back and forth with on a Saturday. So I go over there. The system was idiot simple to take apart. You basically just squeeze off part of the lid, and you basically need a Phillips head screwdriver, which I had the original PS4, and you need it like two types of screwdrivers. They now made all the screw heads, if that's the word you want to use, exactly the same. So you need just one screwdriver, and you can take all the screws out on the hard drive itself. And in addition, you can also just unmount it. There's one screw holding it in, and there's 4 screws that mount it that are actually, I'm trying to think, they got, because Apple does the same thing with their hard drives. They put the things so to keep it from it helps with the vibration, like these rubber gaskets around your screws, which actually really work. It's for vibration reasons only. It keeps the noise, it makes the noise a lot lower. So, and that should take you no more than a minute to 5 minutes to do. And 5 minutes is like really pushing it. So yesterday I had taken it out. I had saved the links that I needed to basically not only the mountain in the hard drive, literally just had taken a matter of moments. And when I put it in, I made sure you need a flash drive. And with the flash drive, I made sure that I had what I needed to load all the information on the new hard drive. I actually saved all my files for all my games. I only had a couple games. I only won so far with them, but some of them were actually expansion packs. Like I got the PS, when I traded in my Xbox One for the PS4, I actually had gotten the game of Mortal Kombat because I really liked that. And it didn't cost me anything. I just used whatever money I had as for the trade-in, because you had to use it. It was like money. You get more money if you just buy stuff instead of taking cash. So they make it that, you're wasting your time if you don't go that direction at a GameStop. So I got the game Mortal Kombat, and it came with, the one I got was like, it was real expensive when it first came out, dropped quite a bit. You could get expansion on the one I got for Jason Voorhees in Mortal Kombat. And it was like, yeah, wow, I'm definitely going for that. And you have to put in a passcode, and it's a one-time deal. So if you upgrade your hard drive, you better you better make sure that you save that file that you downloaded on your old hard drive to say, yeah, I got the expansion. Because you paid for that. It's a code. You don't get it on the disk. You have to actually download it. So I made sure to save that file that I won't lose Jason Voorhees, because that would really piss me off. If I lost that file, I would be not a happy camper, because you would have to end up buying that character again, and it's not that cheap. You buy it with the game, and it came with it, like it came with my game, then yeah, but you have to download the file. So I saved all my backup. I've backed up all my files, and I couldn't load them until I reload the games. Like I have to initially load the games on the hard drive, then I can put those files back on. I'll get Jason back and everything else. So that was cool. I'm trying to think where I'm going now. I'm drawing a blank. I need to concentrate. See, I'm forcing myself to do this show tonight. That's my problem, and because of that, I'm not really focusing. So I loaded everything on, found that I couldn't load my extras onto my game, so that was not cool, but I know I can. I'm on a flash drive. Just got to make sure I don't erase it. And I'm trying to think now. So here was the thing, though. I went over what do you call it? I had a decent drive. It was called the Blue Drive from Western Digital. It was $49.95 or something like that. It was $50. It was like $50 for 1 terabyte hard drive. It was actually, I think it was the 7200 speed one. And I did feel generated heat, even though it wasn't being used, but I also never heard it running. So that kind of scared me, because you should hear your hard drive start up. You should hear the vibration even slightly on it, and I didn't hear anything, and it just was generating heat. It's like, okay, I got a bad hard drive. But here, really, it just wasn't working, because there was nothing being loaded onto the hard drive, and what happened was, you got to go to the PS4 website. I'm going to finally get to where I needed to talk about. And you got to download, there's 2 different files. They look exactly the same. They actually are named, the files are named exactly the same. One is just strictly if you have an existing PS4 with the firmware loaded on, then you just get the smaller file, which is only like 300 megs. Now, if you're putting a brand new hard drive in, they don't tell you this very clearly on the website. I found out when I decided to go back for a second trip when I thought my hard drive was bad, over to Micro Center, and the guy said, oh, yeah, just to let you know, when you load this new hard drive in, make sure you download the right file. The file you're looking for, he said, should be about 3 gigs. It was definitely close to a gig, though. He wasn't too sure. He said, I ran into the same problem where Sony on their website says, yeah, you can install whatever hard drive you want, a laptop hard drive. Doesn't matter which one you do want to load in, but you got to make sure you download the right file. Well, they don't make it very clear. The guy at the Micro Center store in customer service, he made it clear. He says, listen, I ran into this problem. I just want to make sure you don't run into the same problem. And he said, make sure you download the file that's all the way at the bottom of the web page for Sony, and it's marked the same exact file. The name of the file was exactly the same. And it was like, I ran into the same problem again. I got home, and they said, oh, yeah, there's a problem. You need to call customer service. Your hard drive's not working. There was nothing wrong with the hard drive I returned yesterday, because I had to make 2 trips again over to Micro Center. There was nothing wrong with the hard drive I had. And it was like, a light bulb went off in my head. It was like, wait a minute, this guy told me, make sure you download the right file. He ran into the same problem. It's like, that's what happened just yesterday. So I ended up spending from mid-afternoon until like 5 o'clock. I spent about 3 hours with screws on the floor. There was only 5 screws from the PlayStation 4, and everything else just drive me crazy with this. And I made a trip over to Micro Center twice, and the traffic was horrendous because you're going past King of Prussia Mall. So the guy over Microsoft, I have to thank him. I can't thank him enough because by him telling me that, he saved me a lot of time the second time over there. Because otherwise I would have been a third trip. So that wasn't a problem. My problem was, it was like, okay, the first time I did have I thought I had a 7,200 RPM hard drive. Now I only have a 5,400, which is exactly, though, which PlayStation puts in on their 500 gig hard drive. Now, they said the 500 gig hard drives they put in their systems at 5,400 speeds actually run faster, believe it or not, than the 1 terabyte 7,200 RPM one. So I got a 1 terabyte 5,400, which my concern was, okay, if the 7,200 is not running that spectacular and the 5,400 is running slower, and it's not as quick this response time is not as quick on a 1 terabyte, which it should be the opposite, I would think, because the way the dry platters are set up. There's 2 platters in the 1 terabyte. There's 1 platter in the 500 laptop hard drive that goes in your PlayStation 4 or any other unit you want to put it in. So it was like, okay, this is kind of scaring me, and the price was only $10 difference. I'll pay the extra $10, get a faster one. Now, I don't like about the heat, though, because it does run a little bit hotter. So I was going back and forth. I actually contacted let me just move this over again. I actually did contact Sony online on a customer chat line. Make sure I'm still getting my response because I thought I might have turned off my switch. And you get one of those generic customers that actually have no fucking clue how they respond to you when you ask them a simple technical question. So I was like ready to scream on the text and back and forth because I just asked, what speed does Sony use on their 1 terabyte PlayStation 4s? I know I just said, and I couldn't get a decent response, so I just finally gave up. And I just dropped it. I dropped my mic with that person. It was like, I'm not wasting any more time texting this fucking person. They're not going to give me the answer I need. So they have no fucking clue what's going on. I know I'm cursing now. Anyway, that was a nightmare yesterday. Got it working, and I basically said today, I said, listen, hey, all I want to know is what speed does Sony put in their 1 terabyte hard drive systems? Oh, we can't answer that. Basically, you don't know. Because I went over to GameStop today, and I asked this girl who worked in the GameStop. She had no clue. It was like, cute, sweet girl. It's like just a simple question. All you have to do is pull the lid back off the PS4. They made it so idiot simple. You can look underneath the cage, or whatever you call it, the placeholder for your hard drive, and you can see the speed right on top. You can read it right off without even taking the damn thing apart. But I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. If you even had a screwdriver, you could just take it out for 2 seconds. It's not going to kill the machine, and you can figure out what the speed is on the 1 terabytes they put in. So I'm very OCD. I have OCD very bad. I'm very OCD. That makes no fucking sense. So, my thing is, I just got to make sure, like, hey, am I getting the most bang for my buck, even though I'm not playing any games? So, it's been bothering me. The OCD was kicking in on that one. Anyway, the nice thing was, I got in the system. It runs. It's not going to run as hot, which is really nice. Now, for those people who have PS4s, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Sony doesn't say, oh yeah, we made a Sony PlayStation Slim or whatever. They did that with the PS3. They changed. Xbox does the same thing. They changed the design, and they won't even tell you. And they say, oh, we didn't do anything different. It's like, yeah, it looks completely different. So I have I have the white console, the PS4. Mine is I think it's a 1115A. I think it's the model number. I think that's it. Let me check if I can put that in. See if that's right. 1115A. Sony. I'm just guessing at this point. Yes. 4. It's probably a 15 or 13. Yeah, there is. Actually, there is. The Sony PlayStation 4 500 gig CUH 1115A. Okay, I just said up. It's either 15 or 13. I think it's 15 is the white console. 1115A, the 1100 series of the PlayStation 4s were the original models, and apparently they ran a bit hotter than what they just put out, which was the 1200 series. So if you have, a lot of people caught on to this because it did slightly change between the 1115 of the 1100 series PS4s, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to do a show too, and the 1200 series. The one difference is they did shrink certain things. They made some performance boosts. They made put a better Blu-ray player in the 1200 series of the PlayStation 4s. And the big thing that people complained about, if you ever saw a PlayStation 4, the part you take off where your hard drive is exposed once you take off a piece of plastic, that plastic was a glossy finish, and the rest of the unit was basically a matte finish. They had changed, that's how you can tell the difference, if no other way, the 1200 series as opposed to the 1100 series of the PS4 units. The major difference they made was they made everything a flat matte finish. Also, if you physically put a 1100 series PS4 next to the 1200 series, there is definitely a big difference. If you put it side by side, yeah, you're going to see the difference. One is much smaller. The units look exactly the same otherwise. But they did take off like probably a couple centimeters, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you can see on the back the width is much less. There's less width, and it's a little bit not as high. So technically it is what probably was designed to be the slim, because it is a bit slimmer. The original unit is slim. It's much smaller than Xbox One. But the 1200 series PS4 runs warm. It runs less cool. It uses less voltage. Updated the hardware through and through underneath the hood, and it's physically a little bit smaller, and it is definitely noticeable because I saw somebody on a comparison contrast between 1100 and the 1200 series consoles. There's a difference. Trust me, you can see the difference physically with your own eyes. Now, another thing is the old unit used to have the buttons on the front, which I did not like when I first bought a PS4. The buttons were hidden. So apparently that must have been an issue. And because it was an issue, they made sure that the buttons now on the 1200 series are protruding where you can physically see them without destroying the look of the appearance of the thing. They also changed the console outlook on the back of the unit and some other things. So they did make some changes. They definitely made some changes. So the big difference also that they made when they started doing that was they actually did put the bigger hard drives, but they're only putting out 500 gig hard drives again. But before they were actually putting out the 1 terabyte hard drives. So there's some difference. Anyway, I went online. It was like, okay, because the problem with the glossy part finish where your hard drive is, there is the one problem. It scratches really easily because it's a glossy finish. On the black, it shows up tremendously. Like if you're like me and you have OCD, you're gonna sell. And there was a girl that I was talking to tonight at the GameStop. She said the same thing. I got the white one. I don't notice as much, but the matte won't scratch as easily, or you won't get those deep scuff marks like you will in the glossy finish, which is only on part of the unit, and it doesn't look that great. It actually looks a little bit kind of cheesy. So Sony decided, like, okay, we're going to make the whole entire thing, even the part where your hard drive, you can remove your hard drive, we're going to change that where it's going to be matte on that side too. It just pops off. So I looked online. There's a couple places, aftermarket places. I didn't even know they existed until the girl mentioned that they sell one aftermarket, there I go, plate that goes on the top. I forget what they call it. I'm going to have to look in my email because I can actually get up the precise name. Because I had to buy it from Japan for mine because it's white. And it actually did send me an order number now, too. So, and it has to come from Japan because that's basically where all the units are. Let's see if it comes. I won't know if it went through. I've said this before, I do buy stuff from Japan. It's not the first time. Okay, I bought what's called a Universal HDD hard drive disk drive cover case faceplate. This is the actual OEM one from PlayStation, though, because it has the PlayStation emblem on there, PS emblem. So this one's an official one, which is much better. Now, the one I got is the matte finish, which mine originally came with the glossy finish. This is matte glacier white. So we'll match in with mine, but it's going to be, I'm going to replace the one, because I bought my unit used. So that part that I just named, which is called your disc cover on your case, came with the glossy finish, and it is really scratched. Now, I was able to get most of the scratches out. Unfortunately, some of them are so deep, they are non-removable. So this one web link, I got it says AliExpress, and it says brand new matte HDD, that means hard drive, bay cover for the Sony PS4 console. Now, it says it fits CUH 1000 series, which is 1100 series, to the 1200 series, a new one. So that side, they didn't change that much. They didn't change it too much at all. So it says it used to replace a defective hard drive bay cover for your PS4. And now these are the official ones, or at least really good duplicates, because they have the actual PS emblem on there, and these are matte finish. They got the bigger vents in the back too, which is not a bad thing to have, because they say you don't want to cover your vents in the back, because if that hard drive gets too hot, you're going to be in shit out of luck, because you're going to basically destroy your unit. So here's the real good thing. It's only less than $10. It's $9.57. There's no cost for shipping, because it's a piece of plastic. They really don't care. If you look online, the ones they saw at GameStop, I saw one similar to that on Amazon. You're talking like $15 in plus shipping. So this one was cheaper. And they do have the matte black finish. So if you're a person who has a PlayStation 4 and you're like me, who's very anal, and you don't like that glossy part on the second half of your unit, you can now buy the part from in Japan that is the matte finish to replace your glossy finish side on the older units, if that's what you're running. All the new units now, that's how you can tell you're getting the older new unit, is basically you just got to see if it has a glossy or matte finish. Mine's going to look like the new unit, though, even though technically it's going to be still, I think the white, it's called Glacier White. They actually did change the size from the original one, because I've seen the original PlayStation 4. It was a nice size, but it was much bigger in comparison to the old one. The new one, I'm sorry. So, yeah, it was like less than $10. The shipping was included. That wasn't that bad. So I was happy about that. I got a terabyte hard drive in there, which I was more comfortable with running. I just wasn't too satisfied with the speed. That was the only thing that kind of had taken me on scratching my head. I mean, it's just because I have too much time on my hands, too. That's a problem. I'm sorry. I keep on looking at, I want to get her name right, Genova's Rossi's ass. Somebody actually commented about it. She's got pantyhose on, the shiny pantyhose that I always love, and she's got some type of thong-like almost, what do you call it, bathing suit on, and she's kneeling back and she's showing her ass, and she's got a nice ass. She's got a really nice ass. She's got a cute face. So I keep on staring at that, and it's distracting me for the past hour. So it was funny the other night, by the way, for anybody who listens to me. It came up, I was on Facebook. I guess I was trying to do a show or something, or I was looking for something on Facebook up. I wasn't even paying attention to it. I was looking for stories, and it popped up that they were doing a live chat thing, and they were somewhere, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith and the people for Mallbrats. They were doing a live convention coverage, like literally live, because there was people on there on the feed. And I try to post in there my podcast I did with the Comic Book Man, but I really didn't get anybody check it out my Spreaker page, so that was a shame, because I was actually hoping for some more. Anyway, last night it was funny. I had a chance. I didn't go out with a friend, so I was able to sit home and watch Senguli, which I never really have a chance because I always go out with a friend. And when I do watch Senguli, I usually just watch for his skits, and then I'm like, because the movies are pretty bad, like I said, and I'm just busy masturbating or goofing off or doing other things. So last night it was a movie that kind of caught my attention. It's very campy. It was like a 70s movie, I think. And it was called The Boy Who Cried Werewolf. And it was like Senguli was making jokes throughout the movie, which were pretty funny. Kind of like that Mystery Science TV show. They did that too. He's been around for like since the 70s. So, I think he's been around way before even Mystery Science was around. And he was doing that last night. It was like, yeah, I definitely the show kept my attention for once. I made sure to watch the whole thing. Normally I can't because I'm always going out on Saturday nights with a friend, and he didn't bother to call me this weekend. So it was like, oh, that's great because I actually can watch the show for once, Senguli. So that was really cool. And I did watch it. Yes, it was a campy movie, but I enjoy those. I grew up watching movies like that. So anyway, I didn't really prepare anything. I'll just let you know that, like I said in the beginning of the show, probably in the middle of the show, and some other times. One thing I did want to mention, though, that I don't know where I put it, because I put up too many pictures of girls in spandex. Disco, they call them disco spandex pants or something like that. So I was doing laundry, and I just went off on a click in, save it to my page spree today. Just saving every picture of these girls in these spandex disco pants. And it was like, I got so many of them. It was like, this is too much. This is way too much. I should stop. I couldn't help myself. I was bored waiting to get my laundry done. So if you look at my page, you're gonna say, oh my God, this guy's like, he's really into that spandex thing, isn't he? Well, I am, but this is even too much for me to even look at. The one thing I did link, and I'm trying to look for it now because I'm trying to dig through, because I've been on bullshitting for the last couple hours and at least hour or so, and really didn't get anywhere of what I wanted to say, was when I was listening to Rush Limbaugh on Friday. Oh, I wanted to add that part too. Now, Rush brought up where he tries to keep the middle ground, and I deliberately saved this, and now I forget what I did with it. Oh, I have it here. He talks about Donald Trump, and normally he's like, hey, I'm not taking sides, but he does kind of seem like he appears like he's supporting Donald Trump. He's not coming out and saying that. He will not say that, in fact. So it's like, okay, I understand. You really can't. He doesn't want to pick any sides. He hasn't, but he does seem to lean towards Donald Trump every time he seems to be doing well. But I mean, personally, I go by what Rush says, because he seems like the man knows what he's talking about. But he's basically doing a show. So anyway, he talks about something that Stern mentioned back, I think. I'm going to have to put it up. I was going to put it on my show. I probably won't now. You know what? Let me see if I can just kind of do this a simple way. I was going to add the soundbite, but maybe I'll just turn on my speaker right now. I'm going to take my mic off. Okay, I took it off so people can listen to it. And I'll just play the soundbite like this. Maybe people can hear it. Hopefully I can hear it too. So I'm going to play it right now. It's from Rush Limbaugh talking about Donald Trump. Well, I just did it the wrong way, so I apologize. I'm going to hear it already. I'm going to open it up with, open with, I'm trying to find the right program. Not Audacity. QuickTime. Now, the clip is only a few seconds long, so I'm going to try this and see if it works. Hopefully it will. and you can hear it. But I marked it where I think it was 82. Howard Stern, was it? No, it was 2002. I can't remember now, but I'll play it, and hopefully it plays, where Howard Stern actually talks to Trump, and he says, well, what do you think about us invading, I think it was Iraq or Iran? And Trump said, I thought, yeah, I guess we had to do that. But then he said, yeah, we should have done the job, done the job right the first time. So he backpedaled, Trump did, and he said he's always been against invading the Middle East, but he got caught in the lie, though, and that kind of made me concerned with something else. Now, a friend mentioned this before, you can't trust Trump. He's always been a liberal, and I'm not going to say either way. Let me just play this sound bite. I'm going to actually play it right off the speaker. I was going to actually add the sound clip, but I'm going to do it a very cheesy way, and I'm just going to do it by playing it on my speaker. So hopefully you can hear this. Here we go now.
Mr. Trump is saying, and you probably heard it, that he opposed the war in Iraq always, forever. And people in the media said, that's great, but we can't find any quotes. We can't find any evidence you saying that. And Trump said, well, that's okay. You shouldn't. I wasn't in politics back then. I'm in business. I'm a businessman back then. I wasn't being quoted for things I said as a businessman. Of course you wouldn't, but I just want to tell you, I opposed the Iraq war. But somebody found a tape of Trump on Howard Stern back in 2002. Stern said to Trump, are you in favor of invading Iraq? And Trump said, yeah, I guess so. I wish the first time it was done correctly. Which is an excellent point, by the way. If you remember what happened.
Okay, so I just played that sound clip. I turned back off my speaker. Hopefully that comes through pretty well. I'm going to have to check it later on. I'm putting my mic back right now into my holder, so I don't have to worry about that. So that kind of definitely got to me. Now, again, I normally wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't just play it off the speaker, but I did. My point is, I guess, that kind of scared me because, Trump has been caught on whatever he needs to say to win the election. He's going to say it, and it's great. Now, in my defense, what I try to tell a friend was, because he's like, oh, you should really who you want to win. I'm not saying either way is Marco Rubio, or even, which I do like, is Ted Cruz. Well, see, the problem is not that I don't like those guys. That's not the point. It's not that I don't like these guys. My problem is that people are fed up with both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. They're sick of all the bullshit they hear, and they're not seeing any results. Now, for the last 7 years, it's been Obama and the Democrats, Hillary Clinton and other people on the Democrat side who've been doing nothing but basically giving you false hope and false promises and never delivering on, basically not delivering on anything they said they were going to give these people who voted for them. Now, the sad thing was, here's another thing I wanted to mention. When I was in Micro Center the other day, I felt really bad. One of the geek kids in there, he had a button on that said, vote for Bernie Sanders. I'm not even kidding. He had a vote for Bernie Sanders button on. It was like, oh my God, this kid is so delusional, because this young generation, they see Bernie Sanders, as old as he is, as liberal as he is, they see him as a superhero or like a rock star. And that's the way a lot of these other Democrats are portrayed. And unfortunately, I mean, I guess when I was in college, because that's probably how old this kid was, I was probably the same way. I'm sure I was. So, that being said, it's kind of scary that people see these people and these different people, and they don't realize they're not voting for the right person. Now, how does this fit in with Trump? Well, Bernie Sanders, he's just, because he's such a freaking liberal, people just think this guy's like, these younger generation of people think he's so great. Now, Hillary is worse, or about the same. you get an eye exam. Is it different? Is it better or worse or about the same? Well, it's about the same. But the thing is, I would hope with Bernie Sanders we'd have a better choice of getting a Republican in office, hopefully somebody pretty good. And I was trying to keep my hopes up on Trump, but between him saying, oh, now that wasn't the one that really got to me. When I was listening to Rush, the one that really just kind of scared me, and I hate to say it, Trump might be the one who is going to be running on the GOP for people that are conservative Republicans, and he will get in probably. Well, the thing is, though, the reason people look at him, and I'm telling you, there's going to be more and more. I mentioned this to a friend. I didn't hear back from him. But I said there's even the people that work in these unions, like the union I'm in, they're all going to vote for Trump because Trump is neither, even though he's a liberal in Republicans' clothing, he basically is not taking either side. He's being a moderate. And people see that. It's like, okay, well, this guy's not, he's not siding with Republicans. He's not siding with the Democrats. He's basically marching to a, what is that old saying? He's marching to a different drummer or something like that. You know what I mean, probably. So that's why he's getting all this popularity vote. And it's going to continue that way. Unfortunately, though, when he's starting to show his true colors, lied about saying that we shouldn't have been overseas, even though he says, yeah, we needed to be over there, and Bush bashing and then taking it back, bashing other people. And then he just said, this really got to me because Rush actually played this soundbite too. Rush caught a segment where Trump said, and he played it on his show on Friday, that Trump does support Obamacare. He says, yeah, that, basically that's a single payer insurance you're going to have. Single payer from the government. And he supports that. And it's like, okay, honestly, that really scares me. This man believes in a single payer system for your health insurance. That never worked. It has not worked in Canada, where the government basically takes over your insurance. And if he gets into office, he's going to continue to have that. He's going to have that insurance that is known now as Obamacare. So it's not going to get any better. So the thing is that people are looking at and hoping that he's not going to lie, but he has got caught in the lies already. Unfortunately, Trump's going to be another Clinton, but he's going to be under a Republican, but he's going to be another Clinton. And that's not good. I mean, Clinton only did like one or two possibly good things, and if you're lucky, and that's actually saying he did too much. So Trump's going to be another one that nothing's going to end up getting done, unfortunately. So that really scares me. But let's face it, do you really think that any other Republican's going to be able to run for the GOP? Probably not. Not at this point. People are too fed up with these different type of candidates cutting each other down. Trump does too, but he did that since day one, so people have more respect for that too. And he's not run, even though he's run as a Republican, he technically is a liberal. He's a bleeding heart liberal. Unfortunately, I hate to admit to it, but I'm saying it now just to get it off my chest. So that's some of my concerns. I did want to mention. Looking at it now, because I had posted on my thing, it says Jason Mewes. It was on February 19th at 10 p.m. Facebook mentions Mallrats screening intro, and it basically was a live feed by Jason Mewes. He was doing a stand-up thing, and it was with the people from Mallrats 2, and that feed was going wild. Like, people were texting back and forth, so I try to see if I could get my thing in there. It says screening intro, and I don't know exactly where it was or what they were showing, but I didn't get any feedback from me doing that. So, unfortunately. Anyway, the show's been going on really long, so I'm just going to go through. I promise I'm not going to read anything, but there were some stories going back for last couple days, because I've been off since, I forget when, probably since Thursday, Friday. I don't know. Anyway, Lansdale Patch had something. It says, do you agree this is needed? And it was a story titled, it was, I know, I just caught myself, 19th, which was like 2 days ago. New stop signs, traffic signals report for Summity Town Pike. They're putting new traffic lights on Summity Town Pike, and that's around my neck of the woods. Again, I promise I won't read these. Lansdale Patch. Horrific story that I actually found was also on the 19th. It says 2 women who let elderly veteran get eaten alive learns their fates. And they get a slap on the wrist. These ladies let their dogs, they had dogs, they let them starve to death, these dogs, to the point the dogs were eating cigarette butts and some other stuff. And it was on American News link, americannews.com. And the guy was 79 years old. He was a neighbor. He got eaten to death. Like, he literally, the dogs ate the man to death because they were starving to death. So when you starve anybody or obviously an animal to death, they're going to turn back into not domestic animals. They're going to turn into vicious animals that you're not going to recognize. And these ladies were up not on the death penalty, but these dogs were so hungry they were actually eating plates. I thought they said paper plates, cigarette butts, anything they could basically put in their mouth. The dogs were eating because they were starved. They were starved to death by these 2 women who had these dogs. The dogs attacked the next door neighbor, and they couldn't. It was already too late because the dogs had basically ate most of the man, the neighbor next door, a 79-year-old veteran. So that was pretty disturbing. I'm trying to look because I'm just going to go through and see which ones were worth reading and not. I put some articles up on racist memories completely destroyed with historical facts on black slavery. And there was 2 different ones I put up, but the whole purpose of these stories were they keep on claiming that it's Republicans that are repressing the black community. No, it's actually the Democrats and the ones who started or who agreed or who started the whole situation with black slaves in American history were Democrats. Back in the past, the ones who were bringing the slaves over were not only the South, but they were Democrats. There was the Democrats who started the whole slave trading situation. Not the Republicans. The Republicans were the ones who actually tried to stop it and did with Lincoln. So there was 2 stories I had on that. There was a story I got from Philadelphia Magazine. It says QVC laying off 220 people, shipping jobs to Poland. So that was QVC laying off 220 people. It was in the Philadelphia Magazine. Some had been with the company since 1980s. I'm kind of scared, too, because I think that's going to happen to my job. It's going to be shipped down south or overseas. So, and there was one I found yesterday. There was one a friend actually posted, too. Teenage girl burned alive by black gang. No media outrage. So this young girl, and it's like 6 black guys. I'm sorry to say it. That's what it's titled. Reagan Coalition. It says, okay, the story is old. It's an older story, but it says she was murdered on December of 2014. So that is pretty old, but it said nobody was outraged and nobody even heard about it because the media never covered this girl getting burned alive. So that's horrible. She was a Caucasian girl, too. I'm just stating, and who was in office, that's the main thing, would be Obama, who was saying about repression and not treating equally black Americans, but yet if it's somebody with a Caucasian getting brutally killed, murder for no reason at all, you're never going to hear about it. I also posted on my Facebook page, will you support Donald Trump if he wins the Republican nomination? Honestly, I'm going to have no choice. I do not have a choice. If he wins, I'm going to have to vote for him. Oh, you don't have to vote for him. Well, what am I going to do? Not vote and give that one? If I don't vote, I might as well have just voted for Bernie Sanders because it's just as bad for me not to vote. I mean, there is very little difference between voting for Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, but that's a chance I really have to take. Unfortunately, I have no choice. And I'm just hoping for the best. I hope that Trump is going to kind of wise up a little bit too. I doubt it, but you can, it's like my one friend says, usually when you say you hope for something, that means when you say something, you wish for it to happen, you're just wishing for it because you're hoping that they're going to hear you almost or whatever. So I didn't get to watch this. There was some video. I don't know if I found it or a friend sent it to me. It says, I think I found it. It says, high school boy cyberbullies girl, so she gives him a brutal MMA-style beatdown caught on viral video. That one I didn't watch. I'd like to watch it. I can at least explain it because that's usually what I do. Because reading it, yeah, she's beating the crap out of this guy because I'm watching it now at least. I did not watch it initially. It's a white Caucasian girl, and it looks like an Asian guy who cybered bullied this girl, and she literally, I'm sorry, there's lack of a better word, she beat the shit out of the kid. Like this girl, she had a dress on, a mini short dress, so you see her underwear. Not that that's important, but oh my god, she actually body slammed the kid too. And she's like a frail little girl, and she like actually beat the shit out of this kid. So he couldn't have been Hispanic. I thought he might have been Asian. It doesn't even matter. Somebody put up something actually funny. I had it posted for me and a friend, and it's a picture of Shia LaBeouf, White Tiger, and Kane West, because you always hear about him. It says Kane West and Shia LaBeouf are like the Siegfried and Roy of the internet nonsense. Some break.com, I think. I put up a lot of funny stuff if you look at it. One was, my standards are high, my mind is dirty, my morals are firm, my personality is flirty, my heart is big, my ego is small, and if you don't like me, I don't give a fuck at all. So that was pretty funny. There's some really good stuff people put up, though. So I always take stuff that I find interesting and, that fascinate me, whatever. And I make sure to put it up. I apologize so far tonight because really most of my time was just spent talking about the PS4. I finally got into a little bit more. But honestly, again, I didn't really plan to do anything that was etched in stone. I normally don't. I just put this up as my last story from earlier tonight. And it was American Horror Story Season 6 news. Guess who's coming back? And yes, it is... I can't remember her name because she was off for 1 year and replaced with Lady Gaga. I'm trying to look for her name because I can't remember it now. Oh, Angela Bassett. For the past 3 years, Angela has been the mainstay on American Horror Story, and she's recently confirmed to Larry King in an interview that she is returning for season 6. So she was the girl. Yeah. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, I just said it. I like that black lady too. She's really hot. That's not Angela Bassett. I can't remember her name, but she's really, really hot. But she is going to return. Honestly, I don't think Lady Gaga. I like her music. I didn't like her when she did that trip. No, actually, I'm sorry. She is the hot lady, Angela Bassett. So I got that wrong. She's the hot woman I was talking about, the hot black lady. Well, she's been on every season, though. Jessica Lange is, I think, coming back, though. I've heard she took a season off, and when she heard Lady Gaga was replacing her, she actually said, I'm going to be coming back the next season. I think she is. No, Angela Bassett, she's the black woman on there. She's really hot. She definitely does it for me. I'm trying to figure out. She's 57. Yeah, I thought she looked really good. I didn't think she was that old. I mean, 57 is not old, but I didn't think she was that old, period, looking at her, because she can really play, like, different characters, and she can play, like, a sexy woman very well. Anyway, I had some stories. I really never read them, but there was one: teacher gives student BJ and lets them run a train on her in her class. And it's one of these school teacher stories. It was in Arkansas, a teacher accused of sex with student. And Arkansas, the 28-year-old teacher formerly at, it looks like Ascola High School. She had been married for 10 years, has a 5-year-old, has 2 5-year-old twin boys, has been accused of inappropriate sexual contact with at least one male at the high school. See, that's the thing I don't understand. These are all happily married women with kids. And I always made this joke, even today. I don't know how many women I saw with kids that had on, like, lycra spandex, like the workout outfits, walking around like there was nothing wrong with that. It's like, it is a little inappropriate. You're walking with your kid, and these are the same parents, women that similar, not the same ones, but similar women you're going to read on the news eventually for having sex with underage kids of 11 and 12 years old. So that's what really kind of just really bothers me. There's a story, again, I just posted these. Again, I had no clue I was going to read any of this stuff, and I decided to do it anyhow. But there was a story from a Tennessee mom faces murder charges in the death of a 2-year-old son. That was on the 17th. It says a teenage mom in Memphis, Tennessee has been charged with first-degree murder after a cruel and unusual form of punishment resulted in the death of her 2-year-old son. Raven Campbell, 19, took an unorthodox approach to discipline her son, Jeremiah, on Saturday afternoon. So it just happened this past weekend. I'm trying to figure. The police say the teen mom put the boy under a large mattress as a form of punishment. After 30 minutes, she lifted the bed and found her infant son unconscious and not breathing. She basically suffocated the kid. And that was on opposingviews.com. I read these stories and I see these teenage moms, these teenage couples, and they always definitely bother me. I mentioned it the other day, or I saw that, and it just did not. Oh, was that when I got my hair cut? It just really bothers me. There's some funny stuff I will have on my Facebook page. There's a little kids playing rodeo with toys, like they're riding a bull or something like that. It's really cute. And there was a story from the morning call I posted. It says a Washington Township woman was ejected from her car in a crash Friday night, has died in Lehigh County, coroner said. Washington Township woman was ejected from her car crash on Friday. And you know what? I've said this too. I almost got killed the other day with some lady. She cut over 5 lanes. She almost killed me, and she wasn't even looking. She was too busy. I had a girl yesterday. It was 2 young blonde-haired girls, teenagers, and they were tailgating me on going over towards King of Prussia. And it's going past Walmart, if you're familiar with the area. So they were tailgating. The girl that was driving was texting on her phone. She had the cell phone in front of her face, and she was driving like right on my bumper. And it was like, this is really scary. It says a Washington Township woman was ejected from a car crash again on Friday, and she has died in the Lehigh County. Nicole Marie Grubber, 24, was in a car crash with 2 other people. There you go again, when it crashed and flipped onto the roof on Rexton Road, south of Mountain Road in Washington Township, around 11:55 p.m. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same people, but these kids, they look like kids. They don't look like adults. She was unresponsive when the crew arrived on the scene just west of the Turnpike Northeast Extension, according to the police radio reports. That girl that was tailgating, she was either going, I would say she was going down towards 76. I was going towards King of Prussia. Actually, I was going over to swap out my hard drive over Micro Center, which is in St. David's, but you have to shoot over King of Prussia. The girl was going towards 76, though. Gruber was flown to St. Luke's University Hospital and found Fountain Hill. She was pronounced dead around 1:28 a.m. Saturday, the coroner said. An autopsy has been scheduled for Monday, which is tomorrow, to determine the matter of Gruber's death, which isn't too far off by the time the show goes up. She's only 25. I'd really like to know if it's, well, I honestly can't tell, but the car's like bent up like a pretzel. And the girl who was tailgating me, driving really recklessly behind me, she actually had passengers in the car, and she was texting while driving. And you never see anybody stop these idiots when they do this stuff. I actually call my parents because I have the hands-free headset in my car, built into the car, and I basically call my parents. I said, you got to be careful when you're out there because there's people, young girls, that I'm behind right now, and they're not paying attention while they're driving. And it really did bother me. So, guy named, on a different story, a guy named Mark Middlehurst actually did put up, he's a horror guy, a picture of the new Pinhead for the new Hellraiser movie, because they definitely got a new actor now, by the way. And I hate to say it, it does not look that impressive. It's not like the same tactic design that Pinhead used to have. So I'm going to have to add Mark because it's got a cool website. But this guy Mark put it up from Facebook. He put a picture. That's the first one I've actually saw. That's why I'm going to appreciate the fact that Mark put it up. Of the new actor. It's a much younger guy. And it looks like, honestly, I'm looking at it, and unless this is not like a real picture, but it looks like a pretty boy with pins on his head. And it doesn't look that convincing as Pinhead. So it's almost like Twilight has met Hellraiser for the new Pinhead. That's how bad it is. I mean, it's horrible. So I'm trying to think. I put up a lot of sexy pictures. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that because that's inappropriate. I'm a white male. I'm not allowed to do that stuff. Don't you know that? There's a really cool picture with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I really love to meet her still from her Instagram web link that actually she put on Facebook. And it's really cool because she's with a female bot stormtrooper type thing, and she looks really cool. I like to see Sarah Michelle Gellar do more movie stuff. There's a story that I wanted to read this. I'm not going to read it all the way through, but it was on Opposing Views. Police parents charged for doing something awful to a 1-year-old girl. These stories are always horrible. There's nothing good about them. Zoe Wagner, a 1-year-old from Greenville Field, Indiana, was found unconscious, bruises, and foam at the mouth on May 28th. Police said she later was pronounced dead. Now the parents have been charged with her death. So this goes back a ways, and they just finally got around to mentioning this story because it was posted just, I think, tonight. According to documents filed Hancock Supreme Court, Matthew and Jessica Wagner both knew their daughter was seriously hurt but refused to seek medical care. In fact, Matthew passed Hancock Regional Hospital, knowing her daughter was in dire straits, to get a drink from a nearby convenience store, reports Indy Star. So they knew their kid was severely injured, and they just kind of ignored the whole fact until the part that when they finally did do something about it, the girl was already dead, and they both look like kind of fugly-looking people, this couple. That was on Opposing Views. Like I said, this was like posted tonight, though, but it goes back a ways. These stories seem like they drag their feet depending on what the story is. Now, if it's something with a minority, meaning not only just the ones like, oh, you're always picking on certain people. No, even if it's like I'm trying to think, a Muslim or something. Oh, that's going to hit the news front page if it's something that they're being victimized. Trust me, that's going to be out before it even happens. They're going to make up the story as they go along. Anyway, there was one in the Times Herald, which will go up tomorrow. It says, Archdiocese announces St. Cosmas and Damian Church in Cunchy is no longer a worship site. I don't understand that. And I know right where this is because Cunchy is not that far. It says the Archdiocese of Philadelphia announced Sunday that St. Cosmas and Damien Church in Conshohocken will no longer serve as a worship of St. Matthew's Parish and will close as a Roman Catholic church. So it's being closed down. That's kind of scary. I'm not going to go into this because I'll just continue the F up the story, but that's pretty weird. A church is actually being shut down, the one in Conchi. I think my one uncle actually, and my aunt at the time, my uncle passed away. It's my father's brother, used to go to that church, I think. Not anymore. Well, he passed away, but now it's going to be closed down, too. So, anyway, there was a story. Again, I'm just going to read the title. You can go any further if you want to. Joe America put it up. Whoopi Goldberg calls herself a slave. Is she fired? It's because she, works on that one show. And they made a big joke about it because on this article, is she a slave? Is she fired? Whoopi Goldberg is making a nice living out of being a racist, using the N-word at will, and an unending claim. What's that say? An unending claim that the Republicans are bigots. Her latest attack has been aimed at Donald Trump, telling him what she should and should not say, who he can and cannot make fun of, and who he can and can't afford. Isn't she supposed to be a comic? So they were saying something about the money she makes, too, and yet she calls herself a racist still. That she's not a racist. I mean, she is a racist, but that how she's being a slave. Okay, if you're a slave and you're making 1 trillion times more money than most average Americans, that doesn't really make you a slave. ABC executives are up in arms with Whoopi Goldberg's performance as a slave backstage at The View. That was the show, The View. The moderator of the troubled daytime talk show was apparently frustrated with the new executives in charge and how ABC has cut her out of the decision-making for her hot topics by moving the meeting for the segment outside her contracted hours. So anyway, there's a little bit more. I just want to get done tonight because I've been just going on for forever at this point. So I find it funny. I do find it funny because I was just saying the other day, Whoopi said something actually I did appreciate, but obviously that's going to have to be like Trump does. I'm going to have to take that back now. I'll have to take that back, just like Trump does. Now, I'm just being sarcastic. Trust me, I really do hope that Trump is not as bad as people are making him out to be. Unfortunately, that might be the case. So, you know what? Something just happened. Maybe my computer. You know what's kind of weird, because I'm going to wait until my computer fixes itself. I actually had this program that reads how many, because I have a 6 processor core Intel system for my Mac Pro. They don't make them anymore. But it does have, I didn't know that Apple actually can, it does take advantage of hyper-threading, because hyper-threading makes it look like if you have, which I do, 6 cores, it actually shows up as having 12 cores. Because when I open up this one program on my Mac, it says, yeah, you have 12 cores in your system, and which ones are running, which is not. So, here's a story. I know I just said that. I don't know what it's about. It was on American News. I never even bothered to look at it, so just give you a heads up. News arrest. Teen arrested after her school library video racked up 260 views. The 19-year-old Oregon State University student was arrested and charged of public indecency after filming a pornographic video in the university's library. Kendra Sutherland was cited and released. Of course, because she's a girl. She can get away. Yeah, she was being very provocative, and she was doing some sexually inappropriate things in the library, and she got a lot of hits. She posted it online. So, if you're interested in that story, you can find that on AmericanNews.com. So, I think I kind of bled through my stories. there was something, it says how bad parking should be handled. It's pretty funny. It's on thecarbible.com, and it shows some, it's a skit. And I've seen a lot of these idiots in these BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, and they take up two car spots. Well, it says from carbible.com, it's a parody kind of joke thing. I can see being a solid I can see this being a solid solution to bad parking problems with multiple explanation points. Love how they picked the BMW also. The guy parks in two spots. Some guy pulls up and he shoots him in the chest and takes off. That's how you deal with that problem with idiot drivers. When I went into the Pizza Hut delivery place around my house in Trooper, there was somebody who was blocking me getting out. They had like a BMW, and it was an older white man. Like, I'm talking like in his 60s. And I knew because I made sure to check who got out of this car. Had blacked out windows, so blacked out that it literally looked like somebody basically just put a wall where the windows were supposed to be, like black walls all the way around the car where the windows were supposed to be. Now, usually that's like a stereotypical thing for younger people to do that stuff, but an older man to put in solid black windows around the car where you could not see in at all, it's like, come on, dude. You're probably like in that retirement home down the street from where I live, Shenandoah, whatever. And you have a very expensive car with completely where there is absolutely no visibility, blacked out windows, and you're blocking me getting out. It's like you're multiple ways you're a fucking asshole, dude. This old guy. I would just love to see that guy get jumped or beaten up or whatever, because it was dangerous. It was really dangerous. It was solid black windows. It wasn't just a little bit. It was completely, there was no light coming through those windows whatsoever. I should have taken his license plate too and reported the guy. Honestly, because I don't care who you are. There is no reason. And it was an older Caucasian guy. So there you go. I'm picking on somebody else. An older Caucasian guy. Like I said, for all I know, he probably lives down at that Shenandoah. That is very dangerous. There is no reason why you need windows that blacked out. I mean, if I was a cop, I would shoot first and then ask questions later, because you don't know who's in that car. That was just ridiculous. I saw that. It was like, I can't believe this. This guy should know better. Obviously, he does not. And it was really kind of disturbing. Oh, wow. You know what? I just keep on lingering on tonight. I'm never going to end this. And there was another story on Hillary's voter fraud thing. So it was not one of these things I had taken off somebody's Facebook page, and it reads, I never wish death upon anybody who wrongs me. I wish sudden explosive diarrhea while on a date much more satisfying. Yeah, I can relate to that too well. This was funny. I had to post this to a friend, and it is really disturbing. And it's a big scrotum sack with a happy face on there. It's not a real one. It's a fake one. And it was from digitaldeconstruction.com. Meet Mr. Balls, Brazil's disturbing new testicle cancer mascot. It's got like the pubic hairs all over it, a smiley face, and pubic hair for hair on the top of its head. Yeah, it's actually a guy in a costume too. Like you can wear it. A Brazilian testicle cancer awareness group has created a mascot for the cause that is beyond disturbing. Say hello to Mr. Balls, basically Mr. Testicle Scrotum Sack. It is hilarious though. It is really funny. And there's a little kid, a little girl, real cute kid. She's standing right next to him smiling. And there was one other story I had to post from yesterday. Comics AM, Stan Lee announces final appearance in Canada. Lee's visit to Fan Expo Canada will be his last. Sparkplug books to close down. Retailer, readers, and publishers talk Vigilance, plus much more. And that was, where did I get that from? Comic Book Resources was the name of the link. So you know what? I'll leave it go because I'm just going to go back, and I won't end tonight. I can find a plethora of stuff to read about, and that's not good because then it's going on midnight. So if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So everyone, thanks for listening to me. I apologize for just lingering on tonight, and I'm really sorry about that whole PS4 thing. So have a good one. Hope that you are listening to me, and sign in again. And I'll try to make something more interesting next time. This is iWalter signing off, and it's going to be soon, Monday morning. Thanks again.